with Arnold Schwarzenegger, then I would be a female bodybuilder. So I started to research female bodybuilders on the internet, and all the photographs of these ladies were really artificial in the sense that they were covered with this tanning cream and smiling and on a stage with the spotlight on them. But there was this one photograph of a lady, she was standing in her bathroom making a photo of herself in a mirror, and she was just watching herself on the photo with a really not smiley, critical way. And I could see on the photograph her personal stuff, the tampons and the towels and everything. And I started to get curious about what is it really, because in Hungary our society is really conservative, not a huge fan of feminism, and that generally I can say that people have a concept of if you are born with a uterus, what you are supposed to behave like or look like. And when you happen to be a female bodybuilder, it kind of makes you an outcast in our society. I think it's really important because during the research and diving into this universe, I realized that if you go to the US or if you go to Western Europe, and if you meet a female bodybuilder, or if you ask people about female bodybuilding, they don't have any opinion on it because it's completely normal to deal with your shit in the meaning of self-fulfillment, that it's not a question of genders or gender roles, it's a question of self-fulfillment, which is the basic thesis, and I think the most important thing about this documentary. And so I made these paintings of them, and I met these ladies. It was really hard to find them because we have only like 10 ladies in Hungary who are professionally into the business. And I really wanted to talk to them, to ask them my stupid, obvious questions about their lifestyle and stuff. And the more I got to know them, the more ideas came to my mind. And I had ideas of a film, a fiction film. So I started to write a fiction film, which is also finished, and it was premiered at Sundance, and now it's around the world, etc. But for a more thorough research, I started to make this documentary. It wasn't supposed to be a documentary. It was just, a survey or an exploration, but it turned out to be a documentary in the end. Wasn't? That was the question.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it does address the question. It's interesting because you talk about it as a kind of a film that was a piece of research and in some ways was experimenting with how you would go about filming these women for the sake of making the feature film. I wanted to ask you about basically the cinematography and how you went about deciding the best way to capture these rather magnificent bodies on camera.
So what I said that I'm not a filmmaker, it's important because I come from a field that deals only about images. And the other thing is that I studied music for 12 years. I was supposed to be a musician. So rhythm and sound and images are basically my life. I know it sounds pathetic, but it's important in the sense that what is film? It's rhythm, sounds, and images, and story. But on my list, the story is the fourth one. I don't care about stories. I like reading books, but if I want to explore a story, I want to read a book, not watch a film, because film is an artistic medium, and when I started to make this documentary, I treated both the phenomena and both the medium I worked with as an art form. That's why it's not. There is a story in it, there is a narrative arc, but it's not because I wanted to follow the rules of filmmaking. It's because that it happened to be there, that these things happen to the main character, and out of respect to her, because she shared her most intimate thoughts with me, I felt I have to share her story with the audience, because that is her. But I just, my main focus was to convey this really special state of mind of trying to reach this goal that you have in your horizon, which is a very universal thing. This goal can be a car, or getting pregnant, or becoming an artist, or just paying your bills, whatever. But it's really universal. In their case, it's being in a perfect shape on a stage, and being able to grab that golden medal or something, and show their inner strength. So with the cinematography, I didn't have a concept in my mind that for this kind of thing I have to use this kind of images or this kind of camera movement. I just went with the flow, and when I had an idea, I told the cinematographer, and he said okay, and we did it. It was really easy.
Thank you. You mentioned in the Q&A yesterday that you're writing a thesis on some literature and objection. Maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about how this film might fit in with your research interests, and whether in some ways this process of working with these bodybuilders, first when you were painting them and then making films about them, if that in any way influenced your choice of research.
I think that the two go together. I research abject, which is a notion from the 80s. It's a pretty young notion, but it's something about the gruesome and the disgusting, and I research how it changes and how it appears throughout art history, and I use this notion as a filter, as kind of a lens, because I just see that when we look through the notion of the gruesome and disgusting, we can understand more of what is art, which is a kind of a basic question, but I bet that nobody could answer that. There is no definition for that. That's why it's interesting, and these kind of things were always on my mind. I think I have this attitude that I'm more interested in the extremities, in the weird stuff, and the gruesome. They kind of, I don't know, they make me feel like I have blood in my veins, you know, that kind of really basic thing that you seek in art, that you can feel alive, and this is what makes me feel alive. So it's really obvious that I deal with this kind of stuff that that everybody knows about it, and everybody on different levels, of course, seeks it, they are always on the margin, they are on the boundaries. And the funny or the very interesting thing about female bodybuilding, if we say that okay, they are outcasts, they are a subject for abjection on a societal, I don't know, whatever level. But if we also think about the classical discipline of aesthetics and the sublime and the endlessness, which Kant or the other guys from that era talks, they love to talk about this kind of stuff without realizing that with saying endlessness or sublime, they open up really small doors to the extremities as well. And the bodybuilding is a really perfect imagery for that concept, because what is aesthetics in a classical meaning is that it's all about proportions. And what is bodybuilding? It's all about proportions. It's all about definition. There is no point in talking about a fragile or very sad story and soul in a really strong body, because that would be just really stupid. It's about trying to find the perfect imagery for self-expression. And in their case, this tool they use as an artist, as a sculptor, is their own body, is their own psyche and everything. And this is, I find this, and hopefully the documentary somehow kind of represents this state of mind. And going back to the previous questions, that's why I don't show you what kind of tools they use to work out, because who cares? The point is what they have in their eyes, on their faces, throughout workout. That is something that we all have inside, and it's such an amazing feeling to meet this state of mind. Which state of mind is also, to go back to abjection, is something that we fear and that we desire in the same time, and that's why it makes it really interesting.
Thank you so much. That's fascinating. I'd like to give an opportunity to the audience if anybody has a question about the film. I'm afraid our microphone cord is not particularly long, so I might have you to ask you to raise your voices. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Sorry, the light is in my eyes, so I can't see. No hands, no problem. Well, I can keep going then. One thing that I was thinking about the first time I watched your film was to do with the Olympiad tradition, and how and why this particular kind of bodily image with rounded muscles and a kind of, the kinds of torsos that you see on statues if you go into any kind of archaeological museum in Athens rather, why this might have remained this kind of idealized point that bodybuilders and athletes continue to try and tend towards, or whether you think in some ways that image has been abandoned by these professions, because of course there are these people that have muscles that we didn't even know existed, you know.
That's the point in it. There are many things coming to my mind. At first, the sculptures we see from ancient Greek or the Roman era, we have to keep in mind that those sculptures, they looked really different when they were made. What we see, that aerodynamic and it was really inspiring for Winkelmann and Herde and Hogarth, but those are completely different from their original state, and they are a lot more aerodynamic, and they have these endless, never-ending lines and no fragments in them, and they follow this as a rule. Many classicist theorists follow this as a very important rule, because it was about this fruitful moment, the forever young, the concept never ending, that not to reach the climax and stuff like that. And in the history of bodybuilding, it had many different stages, because now the bodybuilders now, they look a lot more extreme than from those antique figures, but the same thing that they have, what I said about proportions, that there is another thing which is really an interesting thing about aesthetics, is that it after around the Neoplatonistic era in the European culture, there was this thing about how the way of thinking, it's called encyclopedic way of thinking, which means, if you know the drawings of Michelangelo, and many people say that, he makes his drawings, they show muscles that are not supposed to be there, muscles even on small children and stuff like that, which is really funny for us, but for that era, encyclopedic thinking meant that we have to show everything that we know, like an enumeration of the muscles and the nerves and everything, and this is really interesting. It comes back when we talk and when we see a bodybuilder, because nowadays, especially, it's not just about proportions, but it's also about the details, that they are so dehydrated in order to be able to show all these really tiny hair-like muscles, that it's really dangerous. But the point is to show that they are conscious about all these really small details, and this is adapted also into their lifestyle, that I don't know if it comes out from the documentary, but I guess it's not, that they are really hardcore control freaks, like every detail of their existence is under control, like every small detail, and they always talk in numbers and in grams and seconds and stuff like that. And I think that's, if I want to find a relation between the antique Greek figure and them, this is it, what I would find the most relevant.
Thank you so much, Anna. The projector slides are telling us that that's all we have time for, and there may be another film starting here soon, I'm not sure, but can you all please join me in thanking Anna again for being here.